With Bernie Sanders dropping out of the race for the Democratic nomination, what will that mean for the race to win over voters here in Ohio, where Biden is polling ahead of Trump in nearly all of the latest polls in the state for the general election? The Ohio primary election was delayed due to the coronavirus, but the campaign must go on. So joining us this morning with some insight on how this could have an impact here in Ohio is the Ohio Democratic Party chairman, David Pepper, joining us via Skype. David, how do you strike a delicate balance by trying to obtain the Bernie Sanders supporters while also trying to preserve the moderate Democratic base?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think you can do both. I actually think Joe Biden is in a very good position to do both. First, Bernie Sanders had some very enthusiastic supporters, and they're not going to switch over on the first day. They were excited about him for a lot of reasons, especially a whole next generation of voters. And I think Joe Biden and all Democrats are going to have to earn their vote by talking about issues that matter to those voters and showing them that there was a heck of a lot more in common between Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden than what divides them. And I think Joe Biden's already hard at work doing that. Things like student debt and dealing with climate change, issues that his voters really cared about. Joe Biden's going to have to win them over. But at the same time, I think Joe Biden is the perfect candidate to go out and win Ohio. He's from Pennsylvania. He knows how to campaign in the Midwest states. He can speak to the concerns of people in the Valley, workers who are frustrated by what happened with Lordstown, workers who are frustrated by what's happened for years in a lot of parts of Ohio. And that's why every poll we've seen, or almost every poll we've seen for the last year, has Joe Biden ahead of Trump in Ohio. And Trump's made that even worse, not just with what we're seeing around the virus and how incompetent they've been, but even before the virus hit, Ohio has been losing jobs. We've lost blue-collar jobs, manufacturing jobs. In 19, before the virus even hit, we had our worst year when it came to jobs since 2009. And the story of Lordstown is a perfect case study. Trump did nothing to help, and he basically said it didn't really matter. It never showed up to help. So I think Joe Biden is in a very good position to win Ohio come the fall.
Well, Sanders supported Hillary Clinton in 2016. Trump defeated her by 8 percentage points. So how does that make a difference?
I think it'd be big. There are a lot of Sanders supporters in different parts of the state. And, the young people of Ohio are going to make a huge difference. And to the extent there were young people especially excited, those young people need to be energized. If you can unite all the people who support Biden, and I think Biden would have done very well in the primary here, just like he did in other nearby states. But if you take the big cities and the blue-collar workers where Joe Biden does very well, and suburbs that are turning blue that used to be red because particularly women are so turned off by what Trump's been doing, and then young people, and then some parts of the rural parts of our state that are struggling, that's a winning combination in Ohio. That's a winning combination in the country. So it would be a big boost. And the extent Bernie Sanders already said yesterday, we have to unite to help to make sure Joe Biden wins, I think is a big deal.
Now, I'm wondering, is Sanders' endorsement really important? Shouldn't Biden be more focused right now on the blue-collar, Tim Ryan type of voter, Sherrod Brown voter? His district crosses those urban and rural areas here in Northeast Ohio.
Yeah, so there was a big difference between 16 and now. One, this is much earlier. The 16 went all the way to the convention. I was there. It was not pretty. The divide lasted all the way through. The Bernie Sanders campaign went to the convention hoping to try and win. And so that convention was very divisive. We had obviously other controversies. This is much earlier. So I think it gives Joe Biden and frankly, other Democrats the time to have the conversation to win over voters who were understandably excited about Bernie Sanders, as opposed to doing it as late as it was required to do in 16. The other big difference, though, is obviously some of your viewers like Donald Trump, but a whole lot of others don't. But in 16, a whole lot of people just assumed Trump couldn't win. So sitting on the sidelines, not getting excited about Hillary Clinton, there didn't seem like there'd be a consequence from that, because everyone assumed she was going to win anyway. Well, that obviously was not the right mindset. And this time, I think, in the same way Bernie Sanders said the other day, we have to unite against Trump because he's such a danger in so many ways. He's broken so many promises to folks like those in the Valley. Don't sell your home, he said. I'm coming to save the day. Lordstown happened. Doesn't do anything. Doesn't lift a finger. Blames the workers. Blames Dave Green. Now that we've seen how incapable he is of being president, I think it gives us a much better chance of uniting all parts of the party.
Were you hoping that Biden was going to play a big role in the primary process? Was there more money coming to the state party? And then what does that impact have on other races for the primary ticket with him now becoming the presumptive Democratic nominee?
That's a great question. You know, in one way, it would have been nice. And obviously, I supported the governor delaying the primary in person. I don't think that would have been safe. I respected and agreed with his decision. But I do think it certainly adds to momentum if Ohio voters had actually been able to show up and vote for Joe Biden and then do it again in November. And I think he would have done well here. And by the way, he's still campaigning here for this mail-only primary that we have coming up. But that would have helped. But the good news is we have, because people see that Trump's underwater here, because the economy here is not doing well by his policies, we are getting a lot of very good support from national Democrats and other groups that see that Ohio could easily be blue this November. And we know that if Ohio's blue, that's the end of the Trump presidency. So that support is coming either way, even if the primary here got pushed back. And so I think we'll see a lot of Joe Biden in the summer and fall. We're seeing a lot of support. We're able, even though we can't campaign in person, we are able to build up an operation right now because a lot of folks around the country are seeing that Ohio is in play, both because of Biden, both because of the economic picture and Trump's broken promises, in a way that we end up not being as close in 2016. So the good news is we have a lot of momentum, even though Joe Biden didn't have, April 28th isn't that far away. He'll obviously win then now that the primary's, not being contested. But I think he would have had a pretty decisive win anyway. And either way, I think we're building a lot of momentum going to the fall.
All right, David Pepper, Ohio Democratic Party Chairman. David, thank you for joining us, taking time today to continue our Decision 2020 coverage during such uncertain times.